Hello again. We've already discussed how helpful data visualizations can be when we want to fit a lot of knowledge into a small space. Now it's time to explore a powerful tool that can help you create these visualizations and bring your data to life. It's called Tableau, a visual analytics platform that makes it a lot easier to explore and manage data. You might remember hearing a bit about Tableau in some of our earlier discussions, but you're about to discover even more. Plus, when you get comfortable with Tableau, you'll find it even easier to use similar tools, giving you another skill that'll help you stand out in the job hunt. Coming up, we'll cover some of the features that make Tableau effective for visualizations and why it's used across industries. After that, the fun really starts. We'll jump right in and explore the Tableau interface, identifying and applying the various tools it has to offer. I'll show you how to add data sources, control visual elements, and work with a variety of features that'll make your visualization really powerful. Like any software platform, there's some best practices to keep in mind, so I'll show you some examples of the good and the bad when it comes to visualizations. We'll also get creative, using color vision deficiency palettes to make our visualizations more accessible, and we'll show you how multiple data sources can be combined to tell a more comprehensive story. By the time we wrap up here, you'll be able to publish your own visualizations on Tableau. I am so excited to lead you on this Tableau tour. It's another useful tool that you'll be able to turn to as a future data analyst so that you can visualize and publish data you care about. After all, data has a story, and this is your chance to share it with others. All right, let's discover what it's all about. Mastering online tools like Tableau will make it easier for your audience to understand difficult concepts or identify new patterns in your data. Need to help a news outlet showcase changing real estate prices in regional markets? Check. Want to help a nonprofit use their data in better ways to streamline operations? Check. Need to explore what video game sales look like over the past few decades? Double check. Many different kinds of companies are using Tableau right now to do all of these things and more. This means there's a good chance you'll end up using it at some point in your career. But I'm getting ahead of myself. First, let's talk about what Tableau actually is. You might remember learning that Tableau is a business intelligence and analytics platform that you can use online to help people see, understand, and make decisions with data. But it's not all business all the time. Take this data viz, for example, created by Tableau enthusiast Eve Thomas to record Bigfoot sightings across the U.S. It's available on Tableau Public, which we'll be using together in our activities in this course. Tableau can help you make and easily share interactive dashboards, maps, and graphs with your data. Without any coding, you can connect to data in lots of formats like Excel, CSV, and Google Sheets. You might also find yourself working with a company that uses another option like Looker or Google Data Studio, for example. Like Tableau, Looker and Google Data Studio help you take raw data and bring it to life visually. But each does this in different ways. For example, while Tableau's offered in a variety of formats like browser and desktop, Looker and Google Data Studio are completely browser-based. But here's the great news. Once you learn the fundamentals of Tableau, you'll find they easily transfer to other visualization tools. Ready to get started using it? Then without further ado, meet Tableau, up next. Hello and welcome to the intersection of analytics and art, the place where data analysts like me go to unleash the true potential of data with meaningful visuals, and a place where future data analysts like you can go to learn about how to do this. Welcome to Tableau, one of the many visualization platforms that helps you do more with your data. When you turn data into a visualization, you get to watch it transform before your eyes into a meaningful story that people can connect to and care about. Visualizations in Tableau are dynamic, not static. As a quick refresher, dynamic visualizations are interactive or change with time. The interactive nature of these graphics means your audience has some control over what they see, and you have incredible flexibility with how you can create them. So let's create your own visualization using a preloaded table on Tableau Public. It's important to note that there's different ways to create visualizations in Tableau. Tableau has a few different offerings, but for this course, we'll be using Tableau Public in browser, which is free. One cool thing about Tableau Public is the public gallery with data viz examples from across the web. For now, you'll be working with one of these examples from the gallery. You'll be copying over data workbooks to your own profile to start creating and publishing visualizations. To get started, sign in to your Tableau Public account. You can check out an earlier reading for more details. Then, to access the workbook, open the Google Career Certificates page on Tableau Public by clicking the link included in this video and the reading from earlier. This opens a new tab that is still linked to your account. Here's what the page should look like. There are a few workbooks loaded up with different data sets that you can save to your own profile. These are a great starting point for creating your own visualizations. There will also be a resource following this video that goes through how to download Tableau and load your own data. But for now, let's use this gallery as a starting point. Now, click to view the workbook titled Just the Data, World Happiness. This brings up the data table we use to help create the World Happiness data viz that's in the gallery. Next, click the Explore button in the top right corner. At this point, Tableau will save a copy of this workbook to your own profile so that you can create your own visualizations. Now that you're working in your own copy, create a new worksheet so that you can build a data viz from scratch. You'll click on Worksheet in the top of the menu, and then New Worksheet. To start building your data viz, add country as a detail in the marks shelf. You can do this by dragging the country table over to the detail icon. This sets up your viz as a world map to represent the data in the table. Next, add happiness score to color on the marks shelf. This applies a color scheme to the viz, in this case shades of blue. This range of colors doesn't offer a lot of contrast, especially for people with color vision deficiencies. So to adjust the colors, click the Color menu and click Edit Colors. Then change the color. Change the color scheme to green-blue diverging and check the box for stepped color, which shows a clearer difference between the highest and lowest happiness scores. Darker blue means a higher happiness score, whereas darker green relates to a lower happiness score. You can see this broken down in the scale in the top right corner. So with just a couple of steps, you have an interesting visualization that shows happiness data in a way that's easy to digest. The countries and colors on the map are readable and offer some great insight. But let's keep going so you can explore more Tableau features to refine your data viz. Since there are 3 years of data in the table we're using, you can filter the data to only include 2016. Using multiple years can also be useful depending on your objective. Regardless, you have lots of options for filtering. So we'll add year to the filter shelf. Then we'll choose to filter by year, and we'll select 2016. Let's focus our visualization on one region, the European region. To do this, move your cursor to the left part of the map to find the View toolbar. Use the tools in this toolbar to pan to and zoom in on the European region. This takes some time and practice. Once you have a pretty good view of Europe and its surrounding areas, use the Shape tool in the same toolbar to select as much of Europe as you can. Since we're practicing, make your best guess if you're not sure which countries to include. If you are working on a visualization that you are going to share with others, you'd want to double check that it was accurate. Hover your cursor over one of the countries, and it shows you data about that specific country, as well as all the countries you've selected in the region. Then use the Lasso Select tool to select just a few countries like this. Keep Only. This applies another filter, this time to the country you've included in your data viz. You'll notice that the color scheme of these countries is updated. This reflects that the range of colors is now only being applied to these countries. Countries in this region might have been in the same part of the range when compared to the rest of the world, but now they're in different parts because the data being measured is specific to this region. To make your viz even better, add the happiness score as a label in the map. You can now see a happiness score for each country on the map. This adds an extra layer of detail to the viz to help make a connection to the actual data. There's an option to change the data type of this happiness score from decimals to whole numbers. But when you do this, you lose the contrast that the values with the decimals offer. So change it back to show the happiness score as a decimal. Now, to make it more interactive, let's add a filter with a slider. This will allow your audience to filter by happiness score so they can focus on fewer countries. But first, let's bring in more of the map we started with. To do this, you will need to remove the country filter we added earlier up in the filter shelf. Add happiness score to the filter shelf and choose all values. Then, open the menu on the happiness score filter and choose Show Filter. This adds a slider to the right of the map. Now try filtering to show happiness score of 6.0 or below. You can see how the filter changes which countries are now highlighted in your viz. And there you have it, our first visualization based on data we brought in from an external source. Pretty powerful, right? We'll save our viz so now we can admire it anytime we want to, and maybe even practice using the Tableau tools with it. It's always important to save your work, but make sure not to include any personal information in your file name. All the data viz created in Tableau Public is visible to, well, the public. You can also keep your visualizations hidden by going to your profile page and checking out the eye icon in the upper right corner of the viz. If the icon is selected, you'll see the eye with a slash through it on your viz, and the viz will remain hidden. It's up to you. But lots of data viz created by users like you are viewable. In fact, you can easily check them by searching on Tableau Public. Then, you can search for any kind of data viz, including world happiness visualizations. You'll come across all types of data viz with many advanced settings. Some of these examples you'll find in the gallery are stronger than others. Coming up, we'll talk about effective data visualizations and some ways you can make your data viz work even stronger. See you soon. In this video, we'll take a closer look at effective and ineffective data visualizations using Tableau. That's right. Even though this platform can help you create some really beautiful visuals, all those features and functions can lead to something that's just not very useful too. You might remember the 5-second rule we spoke about earlier. A sign of a good data visualization is that once you show it to an audience, they should understand what you're trying to convey within 5 seconds. This means it's clear, effective, and most importantly, convincing. If you keep that rule of thumb in mind before you begin any Tableau viz, you'll be on the right path to creating good visuals. Let's take a look at an example of a good use of a diverging color palette. A diverging color palette displays two ranges of values using color intensity to show the magnitude of the number, and the actual color to show which range the number is from. It's a good way to show the difference between numbers. Here, green is associated with higher numbers and red with lower numbers. You may come across tables like this as it relates to business metrics and KPIs. The colors you choose should fit within the scope of the audience's expectations. While this might not always be true globally, a lot of people associate green with positive and red with negative. This makes things nice and clear. Here's an ineffective data viz example. There's a lot about this viz that isn't working well, but these colors are hard to read. This graph uses green and orange, and the data points are really close together. These colors don't clearly show the difference between low and high data points. Data visualization allows us to share meaningful stories about data, but we can't do it if it's too hard for the audience to understand the data viz we're sharing. Using color pairings that don't fit your audience's expectations could add another layer of unnecessary complexity. Brace yourself, because there's another way to make an ineffective data visualization even worse. If you add a few too many labels, you end up with a data visualization that's really hard to take in. Doing this makes the visualization too busy, it takes up too much space, and it prevents the labels from being clearly shown. All of this is made worse by using different fonts across the labels. What we have here is good data turned bad because of the visuals. Having an interactive visualization can be useful for both your audience and for you as the analyst. But just like anything else, the more power you have, the more responsibility you have. Lose sight on the qualities of a good viz, and you could lose control over the story you want the data to tell. Now that you've learned how to use visual enhancements to your advantage, next up, we'll check out ways you can get even more creative with them. Stay tuned. One of my favorite aspects of data visualizations is how creative it lets me be. You might remember me saying earlier that data viz is the intersection of art and analytics, and it really is. I'm here to help you find your inner kid with a crayon. From turning messy charts into effective ones, to making your visuals more accessible to people who have color vision deficiencies, it's time to explore how your creativity can help you get the most out of your data. Jump right in by signing into your Tableau account. We'll return to our World Happiness data in the Google Career Certificates page. Click the link included in this video to open the gallery. Now, click to view the workbook titled Just the Data, World Happiness. We used this same workbook in the earlier video about getting started with Tableau. Let's click Explore up here to get started. Let's say we want to use this data in this table to figure out what the biggest contributors to a country's happiness score are. We'll start by digging into the relationship between happiness scores and the other country measures to see what we can find. To start, create a new worksheet to build your own data viz from scratch. You'll click on Worksheet and then New Worksheet. Since our data has 3 years of values, let's filter to 2016. To do this, add year to the filter shelf and choose 2016. Add happiness score to the rows shelf. Then, add economy, GDP per capita to the columns shelf. Next, drag and drop country to the detail section. This creates a separate circle or data point for each country. You might notice that where the economy score is higher, the happiness score is also higher. To make this trend easier to see, let's add a trend line. Now, duplicate this sheet so that all of your formatting stays the same. In the duplicate sheet, replace economy, GDP per capita, with another measure such as family. Drag the family table into the column shelf to replace economy. We'll rename our original tab Economy. And this new tab Family, so that we can easily recognize what they show and find them when we need to. Try doing this for more of the measures. Now let's show what multiple visualizations on a single dashboard look like, so you can more easily see the relationship between them. Drag your visualizations, which are now listed in the left tables column, one at a time to populate the dashboard. They can be arranged in different ways. Take note of which trend lines have the steepest incline. Those are the ones with the strongest relationship to happiness score. Each chart should have an easily understood purpose that's immediately clear to your audience. And that's just what this does. You can also add a companion table, which shows the same data in a different way in case people in your audience prefer tables. In my experience, some stakeholders prefer to see their data in spreadsheets. We've been spending a lot of time using one data source, but you'll likely end up juggling more than one data set at a time as an analyst. Coming up, you'll have the option to learn more about combining multiple data sources in Tableau. Bye for now. In the business world, it's nearly impossible to accomplish anything with just one computer program. Most companies juggle multiple types of hardware and software to share files, send emails, schedule meetings, manage projects, and track financials. On top of that, all this has to be done with lots of people who hold lots of different roles in different locations and across devices. So when you're creating visualizations, it's best to consolidate your data from multiple sources into a centralized location. Otherwise, you risk data chaos. The good news is that you can use Tableau and many other visualization tools to combine multiple data sources, so your audience has the whole story. You can't always answer your questions with a single data source. Typically, you'll need to combine and visualize data together to build a more meaningful story for a presentation. When you blend data from multiple sources, you're using a process called ETL. ETL is a type of data integration that refers to the three steps: extract, transform, and load, used to blend data from multiple sources. As a data analyst, you'll encounter lots of situations involving ETL. While Tableau Public in browser doesn't offer this feature, the desktop version of Tableau does. We've included instructions in our readings on how to use Tableau Desktop, including how to use ETL to incorporate multiple data sources in your data viz. We actually already checked out some examples of visualizations with multiple data sources when we talked about good data visualizations in Tableau. But let's go back to those now and talk more about the different data sources they use. Here's our family versus happiness scatter plot with data values sized by population size and then GDP. When we view them side by side, we can see from the circles that represent the values that there's bigger differences in population among the countries than there are in GDP. When we view population versus happiness, we see almost no relationship between population size and happiness score, at least when the trend is calculated with each country counting once. But if we calculated the trend line based on each 1,000, it would change the weighting and might have a different trend line. You might notice that we also use population as the mark size in addition to the x-axis to further highlight the population differences. Finally, let's check out the population numbers in a map. Notice that instead of a blue-red color scheme, we used a grayscale, which is much more neutral. Using red coloring for lower happiness scores is meant to communicate that there's a reason to focus improvement efforts on those countries. So we've really only touched the surface of how joining data sources that would commonly be stored separately can help you tell a more compelling and comprehensive story. There's more to explore, but for now, we've come to the end of our tour of Tableau. Coming up, you'll put some of this knowledge to work by learning how to create dashboards in Tableau. They're another valuable tool that'll help you tell a meaningful data story that people will connect to and care about. Enjoy the ride.